We're really pleased to have you all here with us today. I just wanted to start by saying this session is being recorded. And so it won't matter as much to those of you who are attendees because you will not be seen. But for those of you who are panelists and speakers, it's just a reminder that the session is being recorded. We have a very interesting topic in front of us today. We're going to talk about green nautical technologies, but within the framework of greening the boating industry. It's a very, I think, interesting topic because you have on one end the tourism industry, which was highly impacted by the COVID pandemic, and on the other end, developments in the boating industry, which Philip, who we have in the call, is going to talk about, having accelerated to some respect during the past 2 years. We're going to bring in some perspectives across the table, and we're going to look both at the innovation side, the investment side, as well as the sustainability side. So we're really looking forward to that discussion today. I would like to just invite everyone who is watching and who is participating in this session to please use the chat function. We want to use this occasion not only to have a discussion between the perspectives and the speakers who are in the room, but we want to hear from you. We want to hear your questions and your comments. So please, everyone, use the chat function, and we will address whatever you put in there. For those of you who are speaking, please keep your cameras off unless you are speaking and unless you're in the panel. If you find that it's interfering with your broadband, we definitely want to see you, but also we'd like to hear from you. So let me just check to see if Klaus is in. And last but not least, if you're not speaking, please keep yourself on mute just to make sure that our audio feed is working for everybody else. Okay, so we are supposed to actually start with some welcome remarks from Klaus Schulze. He's Policy Officer for Maritime Innovation, Marine Knowledge and Investment for DG Mare at the European Commission. He's actually in the call, but we cannot seem to move him to become a panelist. So maybe I could just start with a brief introduction to BlueInvest for those of you who have not yet been as familiar with it. So Chen, if I could have the presenter's rights.
Yes, it's already with you, Katie.
Okay, great, thank you. This workshop was supposed to have been conducted and organized within the context of the boat event in Düsseldorf, which was unfortunately canceled because of COVID. Nonetheless, we've learned so much during this pandemic that it was fairly easy for us to just convert this event into a virtual one, to be able to have this conversation with all of you today. So I just wanted to maybe go first into what BlueInvest is about. So let me just skip through Klaus's slides. So here. So BlueInvest is a platform to boost innovation and investment into a sustainable blue economy. We have been operating this program since its launch in 2019, and it is enabled by a community which is both online and offline, and the community organizes events to engage and animate entrepreneurs, investors, stakeholders, and key players within the sustainable blue economy. During our time for running this program, we organized or we offered technical assistance to help SMEs and mature startups to become investment ready. And this was supported by matchmaking with investors, where they were introduced to interested investors through e-pitch sessions and other matchmaking activities and events. So we have been running a BlueInvest project pipeline, which has about 260 projects showcased. And these projects are high potential companies, high potential technologies for a sustainable blue economy, and they also get featured across, featured to investors who are potentially interested in investing. The enabler for BlueInvest is a fund, the BlueInvest Fund, and Klaus is going to get back to that when he delivers his presentation a little bit later. I just wanted to give you all just a sense of the track record for BlueInvest. So in the 3 years that we've been running the program, we now have over 1,200 community members. We have organized about 40 events. We have facilitated about 3,400 B2B meetings between companies and investors, but also companies and stakeholders. And we have helped about 203 companies to become investment ready. So they are the readiness assistance beneficiaries. We have about 50 success stories. So these are companies that have either closed an investment round or received a letter of intent or are close to closing a deal. And we have within that readiness assistance a very, very good, very strong base of BlueInvest coaches, and there are about 173 of them. You will meet a few of them today because they are going to be part of our panel, but also they will be in the jury. So BlueInvest coaches also have a role to play because some of them are themselves venture mentors and investors. And so they are a very good part of the platform. And if you have the chance, you should try to meet some of them as well. We have about, we have in our pipeline about 2,000 or 2,100 projects that are currently in the database, which we are in contact with for the project pipeline. And I think what might be interesting for those of you who are companies is our link with investors who are interested in blue economy projects. We have over 400 investors who are engaged, and we have a mailing list of about 1,200 investors who we inform on investment opportunities for the blue economy. We have facilitated about over 100 credible introductions between investors and blue SMEs. And when we say credible introductions, that refers to an interest that is expressed by the investor on a specific company. So let me see. We still don't have Klaus on the line, so I think he might be having some technical difficulties. So what I'd like to do, Philip, if you are ready, perhaps we could start with your presentation first, because I think this is quite important to set the framework of the industry for everyone. So Philip Easthill here is the Secretary General for the European boating industry. Very good to have you with us in the call. You've actually been part of BlueInvest since we started in 2019, and you were one of our first conversations. So welcome, Philip.
Thank you very much, Catherine. And yes, we had this conversation a while ago, so I'm very happy that we are here today. So thank you very much to the European Commission, to you, Catherine, and your entire team working on BlueInvest. I have to say it would have been much nicer to see everyone in person. We were planning to do this at Bord Düsseldorf, which would have started last Saturday, but because of a continuing Omicron situation, it had to be cancelled, unfortunately. But I hope that we can do something similar again next year in 2023. So much nicer to do it in person, but even fantastic to do it online. So if we could have my presentation.
Yes,
go to my first slide.
Yes, maybe try to click on the arrow.
I can't do anything yet on
Or
my side.
click on the screen and then try the page down and see if that works. You should be able to move the slide.
No, nothing I can do yet.
Okay, if not, I can do it for you. So, oh, there we go. Yes, I can see it moving.
Okay, I can't see anything yet. I'm on my name industry overview, but not yet in the presentation.
Okay, let's Chen, would you, okay,
Here we go. Now I have it. So if we could go to the next page.
yeah,
Here we go. Yes. So first of all, to introduce briefly EBI, European Boating Industry. We have a European stakeholder representing the recreational boating industry, and this is a true ecosystem, I would say. We have companies in our sector that are manufacturers, companies that are service providers, infrastructure providers, and as Catherine has said, there are also a lot of tourism companies in our sector as well. So here you have a list of the type of companies that we have in our sector: boat builders building motorboats, sailing boats, large yachts, personal watercraft, SUPs, a lot of different water sports equipment as well. All the equipment providers, engine manufacturers, but as I said, also tourism companies like marinas, yacht harbors, boat charter companies, and so forth. So if we go to the next slide, there's a couple of numbers there, just to provide a bit of a background about the industry. So we have around about 6 million boats in European waters. The majority of those are below 8 meters, so it's a lot of small boats. Across Europe, we have 36 million people in Europe who go boating on a regular basis. But on the industry side, I think it's quite interesting. We have 32,000 companies, and over 95% of those are SMEs, and a lot of those are even micro SMEs, family companies, and so forth. So it's a lot of company and a lot of small companies in our sector, and they employ directly 280,000 employees, and even more people benefit from the industry indirectly. What I think is important is that in our industry, which is quite unique compared to the maritime industries and compared to other industries, is that in our industry, made in Europe is still very strong. It is a sign of quality. It's something that consumers want to buy around the world. So we are still producing a lot of boats, yachts, and equipment in Europe, and I think that's something to be proud of at European level as well. And I think that's also important for a lot of the regions where our companies are based. So those are regions which are more peripheral, which are maybe coastal or islands even, but also we have a lot of strength and strong companies even away from the coast in inland areas, sometimes close to lakes, sometimes not even close to a lake or any water body. So these sort of companies are really active in a lot of regions across Europe. If I could go to the next slide, this is where I want to talk a bit about this aspect of sustainability, which is really going strong in our industry, but also from the policy side, there's a lot of drivers towards sustainability and digitalization. There's a lot happening at European level, at national level, to really implement the famous Paris Agreement, and no more than the European Green Deal, which has very strong targets for 2030 and for 2050. But there's a lot of other elements happening also at European level, and I really don't want to take away what Klaus will say, so I don't want to go into all details of that. But for example, the Sustainable Blue Economy Strategy, which was released by the European Commission last year, talks a lot about the leisure sector as well, and the blue economy, about decarbonizing it, moving it towards sustainability and digitalization. But specific to our sector as well, we have a European directive, the so-called Recreational Craft Directive, that is currently being reviewed and also looked at in terms of emissions and in terms of sustainability as well. What is important to understand, in our opinion, is that our sector is a very strong sector, but on the emission side, the reality is that emissions from recreational boats are quite low compared to other maritime sectors. So, for example, we have some numbers which were done for the European Commission in a study last year, which showed that CO2 emissions from the recreational boating sector were around 0.4% of emissions of CO2 emissions from the transport sector and 0.1% of all EU sector CO2 emissions. And for us, this obviously does not mean that we have no responsibility, and decarbonization is not a topic we need to focus on, but in fact it's the opposite. But what it requires is really clever and highly effective solutions, and I think that's what we're here to talk about today. How can we make great strides in sustainability in our sector? We have here this word digitalization, and it sounds a bit like a buzzword that I've just put here to to also mention that, but I think digitalization is something that really covers the entire spectrum of sustainability that can make infrastructure, the use of boats much more sustainable, effective, and really contribute to the entire aspects of sustainability. If we could go to the next slide, please. On the industry and the consumer side, there's a lot that is driving sustainability and digitalization. No more than there's a clear need for our sector as a sector that benefits from clean and healthy oceans to maintain these clean and healthy oceans. So in our sector, there's a lot of environmental awareness there, and I think boaters and those practicing water sports really understand the need to focus on sustainability as well. Of course, we understand that climate change is happening. It has an impact, but also there's a strong adaptation need in our industry to adapt infrastructure and adapt boaters to climate change. What we're seeing more and more is that consumers are obviously moving more and more towards a digital approach and environmental sustainability, and are also demanding this approach from the companies in our sector. And the last point here, and that's important, is again this sort of made in Europe aspect. There's a lot happening already in Europe in terms of the sustainability of recreational boating, building really fantastic products, and we will hear about that in this workshop today, and I have a few examples also later in my slides. But this is something that we want to build on as an industry to keep manufacturing in Europe and keep nautical tourism in Europe, and really use this as a driver for competitiveness in Europe. So if I could talk a bit, and this is on the next slide, about some of the recent trends that we've seen in our sector, I would say over the last 2 years, but something that's also happened beforehand, is that boating and water sports is part of a growing outdoor leisure and tourism space. So this is something that consumers more and more demand because they want to be outside, they want to be in their bubble, they want to do it socially distanced. So what we're seeing is that there's certainly been a shift towards boating and water sports in the leisure and tourism space. We're seeing new demographics coming into the sector. There's a lot of interest in entry-level options. People are buying stand-up paddle boards left, right, and center to go out on whatever water body they have close to them. So we're seeing that this is something that's interesting for consumers in these times and also in the future. So there's certainly a growing market across Europe and globally, which I'm sure is interesting for investors on this call as well. What we saw happening before the pandemic, but something that is certainly also happening now, and maybe even faster so, is this trend towards shared ownership and chartering of boats so that you don't have to buy a boat necessarily. On the negative side, I would say we are experiencing huge supply chain and logistic challenges, but obviously we're not the only sector affected by that. So what I want to talk about now, which is starting on the next slide, is to talk a bit about where are we moving in terms of the decarbonization roadmap for our sector. How are we seeing this as a sector? But I think first of all, it's important to highlight a few of the challenges for our sector. And no more than there is no silver bullet for one green solution that will be useful for the entire sector. There's a lot of different solutions that we will need depending on the size of the boats, depending on the range they have, the use of a boat, and so on. We also have a large boat park with a long lifetime, and this, for example, is substantially different to the automotive sector. In our industry, boats last 30, 40 years. They can last a lot longer even if they're well maintained. So we have a very large boat park of older boats, and obviously this is where emissions come from as well. This legacy fleet is something that we need to focus on as well as an industry. We also have obviously a large private use in our sector, large second-hand market, resale market, and so forth. Our sector is also quite unique because we do rely on innovation trickling down from other sectors, from the industrial engines, sometimes from automotive as well. We also have a high number of SMEs in our industry, and SMEs have obviously always the challenge that they have more limited capacity for investment in R&D and infrastructure, which is coupled with the last point here that we do have limited public and private investment coming into our industry. So even better that we have this workshop here with all of you today. But if I could go on to the next slide to show a bit how we're seeing this roadmap and decarbonization. What we're seeing in terms of market-ready solutions by 2030 is certainly electrification, and that's something that's already happening. Certainly for smaller boats with shorter range requirements, for inland uses, that's highly useful and something that is already happening and being driven by a lot of European companies as well. Hybrid engine solutions are certainly on the up and something that is very useful. We're seeing the first biodiesel being available that can simply be used as an alternative for existing diesel, which is reducing emissions. And as I already said, a lot needs to happen in replacing old technology engines, especially two-stroke engines, where a lot of the emissions come from. And there's a lot that can be done even without changing the engine, but for new boats to change the hydrodynamic resistance by changing the hull, adding hydrofoils to boats, and a lot is happening there as well. But if we look a bit more longer term, towards 2050, and you will recognize these two targets, 2030 from the European Green Deal and 2050 from the European Green Deal, the net zero emission target. If we go to the next slide, what we're seeing by 2050 is that there's a lot of other solutions available. We have interesting innovation happening in synthetic fuels, bio-based fuels, both for petrol and diesel engines. Hydrogen is a solution that we're very much looking at, certainly initially for larger boats, larger yachts, but this sort of technology often then trickles down. Again, more that can be done in terms of improving fuel consumption and thereby emissions as well. And a lot of other technologies and fuels which are being developed, which may come to the market as well. If we go to the next slide, I want to move away a bit just from focusing on emissions and focusing on the engines, which is part of the entire sustainability debate, but also focus on the other innovation challenges. So what do we have there? We have an important challenge in circular economy. How do we deal with the existing stock of boats in terms of dismantling and recycling them? How do we dismantle the composite? But also in terms of new materials, what is there that can be used in future to build boats that are from bio-based materials or other materials that are more environmentally friendly and can be easier recycled and dismantled as well. On the infrastructure side, the marinas for our industry have a huge potential to be more sustainable and using renewable energy, providing bio-based fuels or synthetic fuels in the future to boaters. So there's a lot that can happen there as well. On life cycle analysis, and this is at the center of, I think, decision making for our industry and needs to be at the center of decision making, because it's all about how do we invest in a clever way. And this is the point I had at the start. How do we find solutions for the environmental challenges that we have, which are still cost effective and which the SMEs can focus on and really drive innovation and sustainability? And there's a lot happening there as well. There's some interesting tools being developed like Marine Shift 360 and work being done by the Water Revolution Foundation. On climate change adaptation, I already touched on this, but we do think this is an important aspect. We will see more extreme weather scenarios, so boaters need to be ready. Technology, and here digitalization comes in, needs to be ready to warn boaters. But also we have marinas, which are really at the intersection of water and land, so clearly they are very much at risk and need to be adapted to climate change. Something that is happening, that we think our sector can support and boating can support, is ocean literacy and environmental awareness. As more and more people go out on the water, they see the challenges that oceans and any water body has. They see plastic pollution very, very much firsthand. So this can really help in building ocean literacy and environmental awareness across citizens, across Europe, and across the world. And again, digitalization, this cross-sectoral challenge that we need to focus on to make boating digital as well. So on the next slide, and I'm coming toward the end of my presentation, I do want to just move away a bit from the theory and show some of the great examples of innovation and sustainability that are already happening in our industry. And I'll just walk through some of these, but there's a lot more that I could mention. We have some great pictures coming up later on, which I should very easily include on this slide as well. There's some great innovation being done by some of the larger players in our industry, but I wanted to focus on some of the more SME type companies and startups in our industry that have come up in the last years. So on the top left, we have Energy Observer Developments. We are building a hydrogen engine. We have Ixshore that from Sweden building electric boats and also using some new materials. Then we have Green Boats, which is a Germany-based company which is using flax fiber for boat hulls. So again, a very interesting bio-based alternative for composite. On the top right, we have a company from Slovenia, Greenline, who are building a boat builder, and they are experiencing some significant growth as well. But a lot of their growth comes from hybrid engine solutions in their boats. So there's something quite interesting there as well. Bottom left, we have some solutions by Torqeedo, which is the market leader in electric engines for boats, who are from Bavaria, so really far from the ocean as well. Some interesting solutions there as well. And then we have a Dutch marina there who's already using green energy and providing bio-based fuels for boaters as well. So there's a lot more that I could talk about, but I think this is quite interesting to start as a point. If we could go to the last slide, just to conclude a bit on what I wanted to say. There are a lot of opportunities for innovation and investment in our sector over the coming years in digitalization and sustainability. And at the same time, this is a sector that is growing. The forecasts are quite positive for our sector. We're seeing consumers moving towards boating and water sports as a leisure and as a tourism activity. So all of this is on the up. Green and digital solutions are on the up. Consumers are demanding them. And then innovation and investment is really crucial for all areas of the green transition. And from our perspective, it's very important to avoid bottlenecks. So we saw this sort of decarbonization roadmap that I went through briefly, and we need to make sure that all of those areas are receiving innovation, are receiving investment in order for the green transition to really take off. And across all of this, for us as European boating industry, is really important to continue this success story of Made in Europe, to really drive European industrial expertise and make sure that the green transition is really made in Europe as well. So with that, I wanted to close my short presentation. On the next slide, just as the very last slide, you have my contact details, but you can also contact me via the BlueInvest platform today. And I look forward to seeing the rest of this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Philip. And I think that will also, serve us as a bit of fuel to drive the panel discussion, which is coming up next. But I see that, or I hear that Klaus is actually in the call, so we might not be able to see him, but we can hear him. Klaus, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well. Good to hear from you. And I think it's great that you're in now, because I think you can set more the policy context of why we're here, why we're talking about this today, and where BlueInvest fits in. So if it's okay with you, can I go into your presentation?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
fine, Casey. Philip mentioned already a lot of this, and I apologize. I've had problems with the link that you sent me, so I had to use that other link where we don't have a camera connection.
Okay.
Which is a bit sad because I put on my nice clothes, but okay, there we are. You don't get to dress anymore in these COVID days, which is such a pity, So anyway, there we go. Yes, from the policy side, let me first thank all of you for joining us, and of course our partners, Philip from the European boating industry. That was a very interesting presentation, and it basically a lot of what I wanted to raise you already said. So let's go through this very quickly. First slide, please. I remember back in 2019 I was sent to the Barcelona boat show. And I was quite impressed about all this gadgetry and all the yachts and the exuberance of this growing popular booming lifestyle industry. And of course it struck me that while it seems that companies are investing huge amounts in R&D activities to develop the smart technologies and great design. It seemed to me that sustainability was less a priority than, let's say, the latest technological gimmickry, luxury accessory, or the kind of design wow factor to impress the mates. And at that boat show, I met these cool guys here from Ibiza. They are going to pitch to us today, and I was there also we gave an innovation award, and I presented BlueInvest, which we had just launched, and they are at the kind of forefront of sustainable sailing with their Bella Verde company and the green boating movement, and they made quite an impressive presentation there. And I invited them to join BlueInvest, so they're here today to pitch. Which is very nice. So that and made me very happy to have them involved in our initiative. Next slide, please. So next slide, please. So that brings me to the Green Deal. I mean, this has been really a game changer for the industry. Also, in terms of the financial industry for impact investment, sending kind of a signal that the EU is serious about, triggering a transition towards carbon neutrality, zero pollution, circular economy, preserving our biodiversity. And with the Green Deal come a host of measures. Next slide, please. Including the review and modification to the regulatory environment. Philip mentioned this. We have just drawn up here for our BlueInvest community a list. Of course, there is more detail in that list than what you see on the slide of pending regulatory changes that will affect the blue economy, including the leisure and boating industry. Just to give you one example, the Commission is aligning taxation of energy products and electricity. And that will affect, of course, also the boating industry by removals of exemptions to the Energy Taxation Directive. And it's also reviewing, as Philip mentioned, the Recreational Craft Directive. So that will have implications on the propulsion systems in view of carbon neutrality. We're of course also looking at the issue of the circular economy, of the end of life issues. That's going to be very important. You saw on this first slide, this was one of the issues that these guys from this startup Bella Verde raised, that there's so many boats on landfills and there's so much plastic used. Of course, we have now a trend to go towards more sustainable materials and to a bit of a more circular economy approach. But I mean, let's face it, this industry is driven is driven to a large extent by demand from boat owners who have to educate also a little bit, who not necessarily care about these end of life issues. So SMEs, next slide. A lot of the innovation that we need for the Green Deal will come from SMEs. That's very clear, and that's also what the large companies we're speaking to told us. So this is why, but they are having financing issues and investment readiness issues. This is why we launched. I mean, it's one of the many SME support schemes, but it's dedicated specifically to the blue economy. That's why we launched it in 2019. It's been very successful. It's been operating for almost 3 years. Kathy explained it. It's going to continue now for another 2 + 2 years, and we're coaching many more SMEs. Our pipeline will be expanded, and of course, on the financing side, we're adding real firepower with a new blending instrument where we go beyond the pilot that we did with the BlueInvest Fund and the EIF, and this is going to pan out by us offering up in the next 7 years, up to 1.5 billion investment in the market. So you see the winds of change are blowing here in the industry, and we are happy to hear from Philip that they're driving this also forward, innovation, sustainability. And next slide, let me just stop here with a quote from an arch capitalist. This is Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock. He said, "The next 1,000 unicorns won't be search engines or social media companies. They'll be sustainable, scalable innovators, startups that help the world decarbonize and make the energy transition affordable for all consumers." He spoke of a tectonic shift that has happened here, sustainable investments globally reaching 4 trillion. So we are on that game, and BlueInvest is helping us to transform the blue economy towards these green and digital shores. Thank you, Casey. And I'm really looking forward to this workshop today. Sorry that I couldn't be here live with my camera. Thanks.
Thank you, Klaus. And I think that's a very good way to frame the policy context, and also the EU perspective on developments in this area. And there really is this sort of duality, that exists particularly for this sector. So I think this brings us quite well towards the panel discussion, which is the next part of our session. And I'm very pleased to introduce to you some really good speakers, and very happy to have you all with us today. So Klaus is going to be part of our panel, and he's just spoken, but we also have Anne-Marie Boeverts, sorry, Vice President of the European Boating Industry. We have Laurent Probst, our engagement leader, is a partner at PwC and the lead for innovation. We have Gabriella Richardson, who is founder for Yachting Ventures, and we have Frank Schweikert, who is founder and director for the German Ocean Foundation. So I'm very pleased to have you all with us in this panel discussion today. And I think what you each bring to the table is a different perspective of the industry and what the industry represents. And I think what we would really like to have from each of you is how should we discuss and how should we see the greening of the boating industry and green nautical technologies in particular. So I think what I'd like to do is to start off with Frank Schweikert, who's prepared a little presentation. So Chen, could you give the rights to Frank so that he can maybe start off with his presentation. So we're each going to give all of the panelists 5 minutes to speak, and then we will have a moderated discussion. For those of you who are watching, please use the chat, send us your questions and also your comments, and we will address them during the panel. So Frank, can you try to present and see if you can? You have the rights, but Chan, I think you have to stop sharing the slides so that Frank can put the slides.
Thanks, Catherine, for this kind invitation, and I try to share now my screen for a very short presentation. So the German Ocean Foundation, we have the opinion that we need a passionate and constructive dialogue between really all stakeholders, not only among the industry, also with society and science. And that is very urgent, and that is what we will like to do to put it down to one sentence. I started 30 years ago a research vessel Aldebaran for research, education and communication, and this is still unique, and this is also the strong bridge between water sports, science and society. And I was very much inspired by Elisabeth Mann-Borghese, who said that the oceans will force us to think new ways and to act different. This might be a very easy phrase, but in terms of COVID and what we see in Europe and all over the world, I think we should use the oceans for work together. And now we have the United Nations Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development with very important goals for all of us: a clean ocean, healthy ocean, productive ocean. And we are working very strongly on this, for example, with the Boat Show initiative Love Your Ocean, which is unfortunately not live this year, but we made a website on oceandecade.org in a German language, in German letters, and then you can have access to all the companies and all the representatives from science, society, and from industry who participate. And I think this is a huge activity to communicate and to enhance what need to be done in future. And in this circumstance, some of the things we do still, for example, tomorrow the Ocean Forum at 4:30 p.m. So everybody is invited, for example, with the boss of the World Maritime University and Vladimir Ryabinin from the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission. Yeah, then we make the national contest to research at sea. It's also very important to motivate young people, and we have a plan of making upcoming conference series also with the industry to fulfill the 17 SDG goals. And for example, by making an ocean festival in Berlin this year in end of August, so everyone from green products, from economy will be invited to be there, because we want to be close to the politicians and close to political Berlin to make this show. And we also think about to make citizen science projects, and we want to make a permanent exhibition in Hamburg, especially for the United Nations Decade for Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. So In progress, we have a white paper idea we want to make in all over Europe to identify hotspots where water sports industry could be sustainable. For example, sharing community. Phil also already mentioned a lot of things: regenerative energy, sustainable propulsion technologies, sustainable materials, and last but not least, sustainable infrastructure. I personally think that the advantage in water sports industry is that nature has a very positive impact on self-esteem and mental well-being, and that water sports provide a clear reconnection with nature. This is what we need also now here in this COVID times, and water sports can be highly sustainable with a very low impact on environment. And companies should raise the top on because I think they are very strong and they have a lot of ideas. I think they are more forward than the politician decision makers at the moment. Our personal visions on sustainability for water sports is reduce the speed, increase the experience by probably using digitization for better experience, excuse me. Then expanding shared economy and broad and immediate use of regenerative energies, which is possible and cheap, sustainable materials, and celebrate all the success of water sports innovation with the water sports community. Enjoy and stay healthy. So this is our message, and I'm happy to see the discussion afterwards. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Frank. And I think that's also very, it's a very positive way of also seeing where the industry can go. And that kind of segues nicely into Gabriella's part. Hi, Gabriella, good to see you. Can you talk to us a bit, actually introduce Yachting Ventures to the audience and tell us a bit about what you do and how you see we should sort of frame this conversation?
Sure. Well, thank you firstly for having me. So yeah, I am the founder of Yachting Ventures. I'm also a trainee solicitor at Campbell Johnson Clark, which is a maritime law firm based in London. So Yachting Ventures is basically a startup accelerator for leisure marine, yachting and super yachting industry. So we're the world's first, and we're still kind of the only people doing a specific accelerator for this space. Our mission as an organization is to build a global community of startup support for this sector. It's traditionally not really been a space where there's been much structured support. So we're kind of filling that gap. And how we work is we run kind of 6-week programs. So we just kicked off our third cohort last Monday. We've got 20 startups joining us, and it's a very kind of structured program. We cover everything from initial idea validation through to marketing and branding strategies. And then finally, we also touch on fundraising at the end of the program. We are global, so we launched during COVID, and so we initially kind of went remote. It worked really well, and so we've worked now with 75 startups from over 20 countries, and our kind of mentorship network is also kind of equally as global, so we're really kind of able to have a far reach. We do kind of see trends though in terms of where the startups are based, mainly kind of the US, Europe and New Zealand. They're the kind of 3 places that we kind of really see activity. We don't actually currently invest in startups in our accelerator. We don't yet have a fund, but we do kind of really try and kind of educate our startups about investors in this space. We make connections, and we're trying to kind of encourage investors to see this space as a viable kind of investment opportunity. Traditionally, it hasn't really been seen as, unless you're in it, so you don't necessarily understand it. But yeah, I mean, in terms of our kind of perspective on the environmental side of things, obviously we're not purely focused on that, but this is our third cohort now, and we're definitely seeing an increase in applications from startups working in this space and kind of electric propulsion and things like that is a huge area that we're seeing more and more applications coming from. So yeah, that's kind of a short overview, I suppose.
Okay, great. Thank you, Gabriella. And I think when we were having our conversation about this last week, we were underscoring the need to increase awareness among accelerators, but also investor profiles on what the opportunities are for sustainable, for greening the industry, and in a way, where the market is going. And I think that brings me to Laurent Probst. Hi, Laurent, good to see you. Could you tell us a bit about your perspective of the industry and what your experience has been, because you're very closely connected to the market?
Yeah, thank you. I'm highly personally connected to this industry. I've been a user over my last 55 years, so I have 56 now. So I've been immediately in this industry from the day one of my life, and thanks to my parents. I love this industry, and I think when I look at this industry today, and when I look exactly also at all the innovations happening in other sectors, I fully agree with what has been said by Philip and Frank and Klaus. However, I would say that we might have, I would say, at least 3 bottlenecks to make it happen and to reach out our collective objective. One bottleneck is the market size. I think the industry is booming, the industry is growing, but we still have, I would say, a lot of work to be done to enlarge the market, because otherwise companies and industrial will not see the opportunity to innovate a lot or to invest more for, I would say, new infrastructures, for new industrial processes and so on. So the market size matters. And I think that it's highly important today to renew the current, I would say, boating park, because the boating park is quite old. And the issue, but the second bottleneck is really the circular process, industrial circular process of this industry. And I think there is a full value chain to be built there. I don't know exactly how we can build it, but I think this would require really a specific approach, specific investment. And we know it's very difficult because it's all highly fragmented along all the coast in Europe. But I think here there is really a clear focus to have to build a value chain, and we'll be the first in the world to build such a value chain. And the third bottleneck for me are the SMEs. Okay, and we are supporting SMEs in other domains. Here in this situation, the situation is even more difficult because, as it was said, they are split along all the coast. The size is limited, so we need to help them to invest into new technologies. We need to invest the small companies, we need to invest also the medium size and even the large companies to invest into that in order to have a highly innovative value chain for the boating industry. And it's not just about design, the technologies required will be highly demanding. And I'm convinced that here we need to provide SMEs with technical assistance, with investment support. We need to partner, and I think this platform of BlueInvest was clearly very instrumental to see the needs, to identify the needs, and really in the next phase of this project, I think that, as Klaus said, I think we need to really have a multiplier effect on this chain for SMEs, and I really true that we need to bring really new innovation and massive innovation and R&D investment into that to unlock really the potential of this industry, because I think the demand is there. The demand is there, and I see a lot of people attracted by all the blue leisure activities after COVID. So the demand will be there if you're able to bring with very, I would say, climate-friendly, healthy solutions.
Great, thank you so much, Laurent. And I think that also nicely connects us to Anne-Marie. Good to see you. And Anne-Marie represents the European boating industry, and we all heard from Philip earlier as to what the developments currently are in the market. And we've heard, kind of bits and pieces about the competitiveness of Europe when it comes to green recreational boating. Could you give us your perspective on how we should be having this conversation from the competitiveness angle, and maybe give us a bit of insight on perhaps which countries have the strongest involvement, and also how we should frame this conversation from the side of your members and your point of view.
Good morning, Catherine. I hope you can hear me clearly. Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, apologize about my surname. It's a difficult one to pronounce, but even in Flemish, so don't worry. I'm happy to introduce myself, a small introduction of myself. Indeed, I'm the Vice President of the European boating industry. Since several years, I'm also the President of the Belgian Nautical industry, and many years also member of the IMSI board, and my daily profession is marine insurances, so that's my daily profession. On top of that, I've always been aware over many years that the sustainability of our industry is paramount for the future and the well-being of our industry and environment. And therefore, I am so pleased to assure you that the contribution and involvement of the European boating industry will play a major active role on this. So going to your specific question, yeah, so Made in Europe, that's what EBI represents. It's a sign of quality in the global recreational boating industry, and one very much trusted and demanded by consumers across continents. While other parts of the marine manufacture ecosystem have moved abroad in the last decades or are suffering from a huge drop in orders since March 2020, yards producing boats and yachts of all sizes are doing very well and are still manufacturing in Europe to a very large degree. So the supply chain supporting the yards are also very strong in Europe, with many SMEs and suppliers located in Europe. We have also a lot of strong countries with companies particularly located in peripheral regions that are strong across the supply chain. For example, such as Italy, France, Poland, Germany, Spain, the Netherlands, Finland, and even small countries like Slovenia and Belgium are playing a large role in the industry. If we look at the green transition, electric engines are an important part of the solution for smaller boats and shorter ranges, where we also see a strong European presence in this global market. I have two examples. Philip already mentioned one in his slide presentation. The market leader for the moment is Torqeedo, based in Germany, and Kreutler from Austria, and many more to come. When it comes to for the electric green boats, the story is in fact similar, with a number of strong European brands being developed right now. So it's important for us that boating made in Europe is continued with sustainable boating made in Europe and digital boating made in Europe, and extended across all new and innovative technologies, such as hydrogen, hybrid, and other areas. Having said that, this will be a strong part of our IBI new strategy, which we are launching tomorrow, and the focus will be on advancing and representing a sustainable boating and nautical tourism industry made in Europe.
Thank you very much, Anne-Marie. And I think that also raises the question that we have when it comes to both sustainability and investment opportunities, because I think one thing that would be interesting for the investors in the audience to know is, well, which areas have high potential when it comes to greening the industry? What opportunities should they be looking at, particularly coming from the technology perspective? And maybe first I'd like to direct this question to Gabriela. In your experience, which green technologies do you see combine both this return and impact? And what do you find has gotten the most interest from investors, particularly with the companies that you've been helping?
Hi, yeah, sure. I mean, I think because the kind of industry is still so young, it is kind of hard. There aren't that many precedents in terms of like successful exits and huge returns kind of for investors, because we're just not at that stage yet. But I think definitely kind of electric propulsion is where we're seeing most of our investors are kind of interested in investing, and that's the kind of deal flow that they want to see. I think, you know, the recent investments that have gone into this space have had a tremendous effect in terms of, you know, kicking up a fuss about it all and getting attention, essentially. I think it probably also, having like witnessed what's happened in the car industry as well, I think, you know, yachting has traditionally been quite a closed space, and the investor profiles tended to follow those of the entrepreneurs. So they'd be kind of investors and entrepreneurs in this space would be kind of like passionate aficionados of the industry, and unless you were in it, you didn't really kind of get it. But the car industry and the kind of seeing what's happened there in the electric space, it's much more kind of people can get their head around it. And so that's where we've seen investors, you know, want to receive deal flow. And you know, the recent rounds you've seen with you know, Philip mentioned some of them earlier, but Candela, Exshore, Pure Watercraft, like all these investment rounds that have happened recently, I think they've only just kind of added weight to that.
Great, thank you, Gabriela. Frank, what do you think so far? What should investors know about? Which technologies are we missing out on, which you feel are underfunded and which are more closely, you know, connected to sustainability?
I think that the infrastructure of the water leisure industry is one of the areas where you could make very good and sustainable investments and visible investments. I think there is a lack of opportunity there, and I think last but not least, it will refinance really soon when you look on the market of the energy prices, and if you know that all these locations are remote or somewhere. So this is place number first, and the second, in my opinion, is also the electric propulsion. It is not possible to replace this 100% from the fossil fuel things, and that's why I mentioned to reduce the speed and slow down the distances you want to make. I think with a lower speed you can also enjoy very much water sports, and this should be something announced and motivated by the industry and economy.
Thank you, Frank. Laurent, you were talking about like new value chains and the need for you know, progress on industrial circular processes. Are there any technologies that investors are missing out on and that startups and people who are developing technologies need to know about?
You know, I think some of the startups that you will see today are really starting the journey. But the potential is massive, because when we see the number of boats which are, I would say, stuck or which are on the inland and which are old and will have to be retreated, I think the potential for it is massive. Now, how to do that? It's a real challenging question, strategic question, which require a lot of investments. So that's for the past. Now we need also to deal with the future and investing into new generation of fiber For instance, I'm currently working on a project on a basalt fiber, which are much more, I would say, sustainable than and so cheaper than glass fiber. So that could be one of the future area of this, I would say, the new material to make it more, I would say, to re-increase the level of the circular economy for the boating industry. But I think this is a full chain to be built up, and that will create, could imagine, a lot of jobs. That will create also a lot of value, and that will help also to create the new market, to facilitate also the replacement of the boats, to renew the market, to facilitate the entry of, I would say, new boaters into that. And I think we are going to see also a democratization, a higher level of democratization of this industry. I think it's a very important element also to bring forward.
Thank you. Anne-Marie, what do you think is needed by the boating industry, by SMEs and the companies working there in order to help them move towards more of these sort of trends and developments in circularity? What needs to be in place that isn't quite there right now?
I think on the circularity, we have in fact two major areas of attention for the coming years. And the first one is, of course, dismantling and recycling of the existing boats at their end of life and creating a closed loop system where cooperation with other composite use sectors is crucial, such as I'm thinking about wind turbines, and here we are already working with the European Commission in developing a roadmap for end-of-life recreational boats. That's one major thing. Then the second one is to increase the use of new materials that reduce environmental impact compared to existing composite materials, such as bio-based materials or using recycled materials where possible. We are already seeing some positive developments when it comes to use of like flax fiber and basalt fiber. Laurent mentioned that earlier as well. So yeah, within the coastal and maritime tourism, the nautical tourism has relatively low environmental impact compared to other sectors, but it is important to reduce this further and also increase the social and economic impact of boating and nautical tourism further. That's important. For example, anchoring can have an impact for the seabed and Poseidon meadows, but innovation is happening and can be accelerated to reduce impact to a large degree. Examples of innovation includes better mapping and information to boaters through digital tools, alternative mooring systems, dynamic position systems using with low or zero emission propulsions, modular floating birds, and less impactful anchors. These, however, all requires investments, and that's, of course, the reason that we are here today.
That's great. I mean, and I think also one of the key reasons that we're here is also to increase the awareness of the people, both stakeholders, companies, and investors on not just the environmental impacts of marine activities, but also where and how we can move forward. And I wanted to address this question to Frank and then Gabriele and Laurent. So who needs to know which types of stakeholders should we involve when it comes to increasing the awareness of what needs to be done, what technologies need to be in place in order, you know, to increase the circularity and the sustainability of the sector, as well as leverage on the potential that it offers? Who should we bring into the room? And maybe I can start with you, Frank.
Yeah, thanks, Catherine, for this question. So I think that the customers are the first target. And as we can see in the last years, when we make the Love Your Ocean initiative on the boat show, we see that that the first question of many customers is this a sustainable technology? Is this a sustainable material? And they are willing to pay even more because they want to have they want to be sustainable and visibly sustainable. So this is why we need some kind of public communication about these issues. We do it on the boat show, we do it on the Ocean Festival, and we need to to make it visible what is possible, and then the customers come and ask for this.
Okay, that's actually very interesting. And I actually have an additional follow-up for you, Frank. We just received a question. Could you put in the chat the details for Ocean Forum and where people can find how to register? Thank you.
I will do it, yeah.
Laurent, consumers, one stakeholder group. Who else should be aware, and who should we bring into the room?
Yeah, I think there are two stakeholder groups where I'm not sure they are totally in line or totally at the scale it would be required for the industry. The first group of stakeholders are clusters, local clusters, or local RDI centers. Or national RDI centers focusing on this industry. I have some problems and it's also a question to other panel members and the audience. I have some issues to identify top class RDI centers focused, for instance, on the circularity of this economy, of this industry, or on developing new specific solution from an energy perspective, from a power perspective for this. So for me, this is here we potentially need to scale up really the capacities, the technical skills and investment capacities of some European key research centers in that domain to facilitate and accelerate this innovation. The second stakeholder group, which I think is key, are really the managers or the current owners of the infrastructures. I think, as Frank said, I think we need to work with these people very rapidly and to anticipate the next 5 to 10 years investment, because we know that managing, launching a marina or converting a marina is a 10 years plan. So we need to anticipate now, to work with them closely and to make sure that they are doing the right investments in order to cover this hybrid energy sources for all kind of, I would say, boat. So I think for me, these two groups are key. If we are able to fix these two groups, then the investors will come, okay? And if the market is there. So I think we need to de-risk these two groups.
Okay. Thank you, Laurent. Gabriella, is there any other group that hasn't been mentioned? So we had consumers, we had local clusters and RDI centers, and then we had managers and owners of infrastructures. Who else do we need to bring into the room?
Well, I was just going to touch on angel investors, because it's all good and well to talk about, VCs and stuff, but that initial kind of pre-seed funding, that very kind of early investment that help founders kind of get their idea to prototype, MVP stage, where they've actually got a physical product that they can start testing on users. You do often need a little bit of finance, and I think kind of educating angel investors on this space as a viable investment opportunity and kind of highlighting and showcasing successful follow-on rounds, successful exits, that could be a really great way to kind of divert more finance and capital into the space at the early stage when the entrepreneurs really can kind of benefit from it.
Okay, thank you, Gabriella. I think that's a very good way to tie it back into the investors who would actually be interested in opportunities in this market. So, Klaus, are you still on the line with us?
Yes, Kathy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. That's great. Klaus, could you tell us what you think so far about the conversation that we're having.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
thanks, Casey. I'm happy that the sustainability message resonates with the industry, and I fully agree with Frank and Laurent. There needs to be a wider industry dialogue, and this is what I'm going to take back also to my colleagues who are working on the maritime tourism file, also marina investments. I mean, we have seen, I mean, we traditionally we get requests at the European funding level for marinas. They're very popular, also with some kind of a green dimension, but this kind of converting with regard to hybrid new energy sources, we see this at the level of port. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of investment, obviously, because it's the big boats that will have to comply in the first place. But I think we should also look a level down. I fully agree here. I mean, you will always have these petrol heads that go for speed and luxury at the same time, Frank. But I agree, if the consumers demand it, and in the mass market, I think we will. This is where we can get traction. First, the elites, they will make their own decisions. They have the money to go for everything they want. There are no speed cameras on the high seas, so you'll always have that dimension. But I think I mean, I'm glad that there is a rethinking, and I think we can support that. And I mean, obviously from BlueInvest side, we are focusing on facilitating the innovation and the investment in this area. But I agree there needs to be other wider communication measures as well. So yeah, thanks for this very interesting discussion.
Great, thank you. And I think with that, we conclude the panel discussion for green nautical technologies. Thank you very much, all of you, for Klaus, Anne-Marie, Laurent, Gabriella, and Frank. I hope it's okay if Frank, if yours, Klaus, Philip's presentations, we have actually had several requests already from people if they can also view the presentation. So if it is okay with you, we will put this up online along with a video recording for the session. So we are going to have a pitch session. Klaus mentioned earlier, Philip as well. We've got 5 very promising technologies that we want to introduce to the investors in this room, and also to a panel, a jury panel of investors. 2 of them are BlueInvest coaches. One is actually the former vice president for the European Business Angels Network. And so, Gabriella, that one's for you as well, because business angels should be involved for sure. What we're going to do, though, I think, is we're going to take the pitch session is supposed to start at 12. Chen, do we have everyone in the room yet? Otherwise, we will take a 15-minute break and then we will reconvene at 12 noon. Chen? Yes, I think what we're going to do, everybody, is we're going to take a 15-minute break. We're going to start the pitch session on time at 12. So take a coffee, stretch your legs. Thank you very much again, and then we'll see you in 15 minutes. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
Welcome back to our pitch session, the final part of our thematic workshop on green nautical technologies. I'm very pleased to be here with our jury panel for this e-pitch session. And I see here Javier Lompart. Are you in the call, Javier?
Yes, perfectly.
Great. Javier is actually the founder of Blue Ocean Leading Drivers, and they have been part of BlueInvest from the very, very beginning. And so we have Javier. We also have Miguel Angel Lopez Trujillo, who was the former CEO of the European Business Angel Network. And we have Gabriella Richardson, founder of Yachting Ventures, who you've all met earlier. So it's great to have the three of you here. And before I bring in the first pitch company, Javier, can you take 2 minutes to tell us a little bit about Bold and what it is you do?
Yeah, thank you, Gabriela, first for inviting me at this pitch session. That is very interesting. And yes, Bold is dedicated to help both investors and a startup to meet in a fair play area, and we try to help startups in the business model, in reaching clients, in reaching the market itself, and because we think that the target is always the market, and to fulfill the market expectation is the more important for the startups. And for the investors, we help them to find the adequate investment and a startup to be invest in, even though in the core business or if they will just to get a profit or benefit, and we help them to during their investment process until this investment. And this is what Bold is basically dedicated for.
Okay, thank you. Miguel, could you tell us a bit about the IBAN and what it does to help startups and also SMEs?
Okay, I used to work at IBAN several years ago, and it's a trade association of business angels in Europe, meaning that the goal of the association is give a voice to the the European business angel community, so that the European Union is taking into consideration how important is the role of these early stage investors in promoting startups and the scaling of startups in Europe, so that the technology and innovation reaches the market, and also to impulse the several industries in Europe, so that the European Union has a powerful stand over other international competitors in the world scenario. So again, basically what we were doing, because I'm not working at IBAN anymore, I was working several years ago, was promoting in the European Union how important is to help business angels to support early stage companies. For instance, allowing them to invest to do follow-up investments in companies that maybe the public administration has made their early investments, or also promoting tax breaks, especially European-wide, so that since business angels are running a lot of risk in making this kind of investments, allowing them, in case there are any kind of, many startups fail and become bankrupt, so at least getting, a tax break that will compensate the issues that obviously losing the investment causes.
Thank you, Miguel. And Gabriella, welcome back. Good to see you in the call. And we've heard already about Yachting Ventures, but maybe do you have one piece of advice you'd want to say to all the startups in the room, when as they're about to pitch to an investor jury?
Yeah, I suppose, well, it's kind of maybe a bit too late to give this advice now, but just to make sure you're fully prepared, and you know your numbers, and you kind of are able to anticipate what questions you might get, and you've got fully prepared kind of answers to those questions. So yeah, might be a bit late for that advice, but maybe for future pitches.
Always useful to bear in mind, because I think that you've seen a lot of pitches and you have met a lot of companies as well, as have Miguel and Javier, who are BlueInvest coaches, and it's always useful, you know, to keep this in the back of your head. Just be prepared. And so with that, let us start with our first company. We have Alberto Traverso, a COO of Blue Energy. Blue Energy is an Italian company. They are a readiness assistance beneficiary. Alberto, are you in the call?
Yeah, I'm here.
Great. Over
Hello
to
to
you.
everybody.
Hello.
Nice to meet you, everybody. Okay. I try to use the presentation. I have the not okay. I have the command. Okay. Hello to everybody. I'm Alberto Traverso from Blue Energy Revolution, and I'm here to present our H2Boat project. So H2Boat, as the name said, is hydrogen to boat. So why hydrogen? Because hydrogen is one of the solutions for a lot of problems that we have in our nautical environment. It's not the only solution, but it's one of the solutions. Hydrogen, it's a possibility, and it's a great opportunity. And in this time in Europe is having a great consideration. Hydrogen is a solution to avoid air pollution, greenhouse gases, noise and vibration. And it's also an opportunity to have a better energy management inside our boats. So our value proposition is to bring to the market a sustainable and safety solution, completely recyclable, and can give a great comfort to the users. What we do, we have two business branches. One is related to a product and one to a service. The product is what we call the energy pack, and a solution, an integrated solution that has inside three different components: the electrical production by hydrogen, the hydrogen storage, and the hydrogen production using electrical energy. Instead, the service of the integration is a service in which we take a project and design to the shipyard. So for boats of a little dimension, a little size, under 24 meters, we had low regulation, and so we had the opportunity to have an entire product, and we go from the project to the production and the installation of the product. Instead, for larger ships and mega yachts, super yacht, we have a service in which we guarantee a design and an integration of the components of the hydrogen cycle. Now we can see what we intend for energy pack. As I said, it's an integrated solution. We had the fuel cell and electrolyzer, and we have the energy storage. We, in this case, we use a particularly type of energy storage. We use metal hydrates that are safe because they work at low pressure. So in the past, a lot of people have asked us why hydrogen is dangerous. But in reality, we use an hydrogen storage that has no this type of problem, because it's safe, it's at a low pressure, less than 10 bar. And the second branch of our company, it's the integration service. Integration service, as I mentioned before, is for large ship, for mega yacht and super yacht. We work as an engineering, procurement and construction. So we work with on side of the shipyard, and we help the shipyard to integrate this type of technology. hydrogen technology has a great story, as are not technology that are new at the market. And but the particular environment of the marine sector is not so focused by the producers of fuel cell and electrolyzer. So what we do is to talk with the regulator register and with the shipyard to try to coordinate the project and the installation of the components inside of the boat. At the moment, we are working, for example, for the Italian shipyard Baglietto in the B0 project that is started in October 2021, in which there are installed a fuel cell and some batteries, an electrolyzer, and a metal hydride storage inside a boat of above 50 meters. This is an example of an integration service in which we can see the components inside the boat. We have decided to work in the nautical sector because we see a great opportunity inside of this sector, because the environmental issue is more important than in other sector and more felt by the users. We can see how the electrical and hybrid market inside this market of the nautical market is growing very fast, and this is a great opportunity for us. We have decided to invest inside the leisure boat because and especially in mega yacht and super yacht, because we have seen that the price of the components, it's very high, and so we see that this type of market, it's a good market to start our production. After that, we will give an opportunity and a focus also to the market of the common users.
So Alberto, you've actually run out of time, so would you like to wrap up?
I resume, and this is our projection in the market, and this is our competitor. Just one thing about this: we are the only one that guarantee a unique package that can integrate all these components of the hydrogen cycle instead of the other producers. So,
okay. Thank you, Alberto.
Thank you to everyone.
So Gabriela, Miguel, Javier, ideally, if you could turn on your cameras and raise your hand if you have a question, or otherwise you can also use the function on WebEx. Who would like to ask the first question? I see Javier, you've raised your hand. Do you want to start?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Alberto, for your presentation. Then I understand your business model is B2B. I mean, it's business to business. You are focusing in trying to reach agreement with shipyards, right?
Yes, at the moment, yes, because the technology are at the moment have a high price, and so the start point is the shipyard.
Yeah, okay, and then your energy package. I understand that you will sell it as a package to be installed, supply also by you. I mean, you will supply the package as a black
for
box.
little boats, yes.
For little boats. For big boats, you make your willingness to make the project and then supplying the package, or not?
For the biggest boat, we just work on the dimension and the project of the packet of the components, and talk with the shipyard. For boats of little dimensions and under the 24 meters, we can provide the entire package and install it on boat.
So for big jets, I understand that you supply the engineering, but you don't build up the package. You subcontract to any other one, right?
Exactly. At the moment, exactly.
And for the package that you are selling, which is the range kilowatts that you are willing to sell?
Okay, we are working on an energy pack with different size from an energy output of 1 kilowatt to 60 kilowatt. Our technology 60 kilowatt.
60, you're right?
60 kilowatt, yes. At the output of the fuel cell.
You will custom manufacture, or you are willing to industrialize the manufacturing?
At the moment, we are working on the prototype, and we launch it in 2023 as custom product, and then we can give an industrialization of the production.
Okay, thank you very much.
But we continue to work as an engineering, procurement, and construction, buying technologies from another partner.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, and that actually is all the time we have for the questions.
I'm sorry for my colleagues that I ran out the time.
That's okay. We'll see if we can come back to it later, but then I'd like to go now to our next company, Cara Technology from France, and we have Ivan Bignolet, CEO of Cara Technology. Ivan, are you in the call?
Yes, I'm here.
Great. Can you see if you can move the slides? Very good.
It works.
Okay, over to you.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. I'm Ivan Bignolet, the CEO of Cara Technology, and I'm going to present you the first end-to-end digital assistant solution for the boating industry. Before I begin, I would like to introduce my team. So Alexandre Letard is our PhD student specialized in multicultural artificial intelligence. Benoît Reynaud, our Director of Innovation, specialized in startup support. Veronika Brečková, very experienced in international relations. Cédric Abelard, our technical director, experienced in team management and software development. And Maxime Massé, our PhD student in human-machine interface based on artificial intelligence as well. So what is our challenge? Statistically, boats break down in the first year of navigation, and after-sales service during the 2 years warranty can represent up to 5% of the net value of the boat. Most of our customers have boats between €500,000 and €6 million, so 5%, it's a lot of money. Despite this data known to the market, the technical assistance service has not yet started a global structuring process. We don't have time to explain you why this morning, but believe me, it's a fact. The shipyards, the dealer or the distributor are generally not able to provide full coverage for a technical failure of boats. So what is our solution? We want to propose an end-to-end digital solution that will enable the company to be the single point of contact to manage the service value chain from providing fault reporting to problem resolution. Most of our competitors are providing alerting, but they are not providing a solution to fix it. So basically, the customers know that they have a problem, but they don't know how to fix it. To reach the market, Cara Technology will rely on partnerships with two companies, Sheber and Robin Marine. Sheber will support Cara Technology in the introduction to the largest French shipyards. Market entry will primarily be through the provision of hardware and software technologies. The partnership will also enable Sheber to present a global offer from hardware to physical service to its existing customers like Beneteau Group and Fontaine Pajot. Robin Marine will facilitate the market entry to small and medium-sized shipyards. So the total addressable market is the 50 billion euros worldwide. In Europe, roughly 10 billion, and in France, the French market is roughly 1.5 billion euros, which is our target. Cara Technology is in the process of securing initial contract with 3 early adopters who are French shipyards exporting and operating worldwide. You have the 3 names of the companies on the slide. So what is our business model? Basically, we have 3 business models. The first one is the SaaS model. Second one is the white label SaaS model. And finally, the data reporting. In the SaaS model, that's the first business model we'll concentrate on, will be based on the freemium, which will consist of offering a free basic service. This will be included in the boat warranty contract of 2 years. Then it will be possible to offer paid value added function during the boat warranty or beyond the warranty period. The shipyard will be able to pay extra commission fee per boat to have his brand on the service. And finally, the data reporting, the shipyard will be also able to provide to the shipyard, fleet reports, usage reports requested by the shipyard. Of course, this will be extra services, so invoice additionally. For that project, we need 2 million euros. This will be invested in R&D for the artificial intelligence and the knowledge management, in recruitments of engineer, business development, and CFO, and in the business expansions beyond the early adopters. So today, technically, we have the service and the connected boat softwares in production. The artificial intelligence is still in development and running in the current version in our test environment. And commercially, as I said, we're in discussion every week with different shipyards. So thank you for your attention, and I'm ready to answer all your questions.
That's great, and thank you, Ivan, for being well within the time. That's really good, very on point. Are there questions from the investor panel? And I see, okay, Miguel. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thanks for your presentation. What can be the main risks that this business have?
I would say in terms of risk is the evaluation of the time between the moment we get the financial and we arrive at the positive EBITDA. We think that we'll have a positive EBITDA in 2026. But definitively, this is in the startup world, something that we are never completely sure. So that would require eventually extra money if it takes too much time.
Okay, so sales cycle are long. That's what you're telling me, meaning that from the moment you start selling till the moment you start invoicing is taking a lot of time, and this is taking some stress in your financials. So in order to compensate that, that's what you need the investment money for. I am correct, or I am missing something?
This is part of the risk. Yes, it's the commercial risk. In terms of technical risk, I would say that when you are running with artificial intelligence, you need data set, and to get a very good artificial intelligence, you need a large data set. So both are connected. If you don't go very fast in the market, you don't have enough data to make run correctly your artificial intelligence. So your artificial intelligence is not that great. So you can't render a very good service. Everything is linked. We need to go very fast in the market to get a very good service and have this balance, financially speaking, well.
So the investor will also finance how you're building your data set, so that you can build your artificial intelligence on top of it. Is this correct?
Yes.
Okay, I get it.
Thank you. Gabriela, did I see you?
Yeah, I'm not sure how to raise a hand on this, so I'm just raising a physical hand.
Yeah, yes, I thought I saw you raise. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I think the presentation was really good. You kind of covered everything that I'd expect to see in a pitch deck. So firstly, yeah, congratulations on that delivery. But my question is around, I know you mentioned the team on the first slide. Obviously, that's always a very important consideration for any investor. And I was just wondering, you know, I'd like to know like maybe a little bit more about your background. Do you have you know, any experience in the yachting industry? How did you like fall into this? Is this your first business? Just a little bit more on, I guess, who you are and maybe your core people.
Okay, so I'm an engineer in IT. I was working during a few years for a large company like Orange or DHL IT services in Czech Republic. I'm in that, let's say, that network, that market for 15 years and 5 years with Cara Technology. So yeah, I have a lot of connection, especially in France. I did I don't know many times the different like the Medstrade, the boat in Düsseldorf, and other kind of show. So I would say good experience, good network in that area, and that's why I decided to have partnerships, because I know that especially in that business, if you come with the solution that will change the world by yourself, you will never make it. You need to work with people that are already in place for a lot of years, that are confident with shipyards, and like that you can be introduced correctly and you can save time. So I would say that if that's probably one of the best way to be sure that I know that market, is that I understand perfectly how it works. And if someone comes to you and say that it will change the world without anyone else in that market, it's probably someone that doesn't know very well that market.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, it's definitely the right thing to go in with a collaborative approach, and partnerships are, yeah, a great way of doing that. So yeah, cool. Thank you for answering my question.
Great, thank you. And I think with that, we're going to go to La Bella Verde from Spain. We've got with us Martin Bernhardt, the founder of La Bella Verde. Martin, are you on the line? Yes, hi.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well. Can you see if you can move the slides?
Yes,
Great,
I can.
perfect. Martin, over to you.
Okay, hi everybody. Thank you for your attention and your time. My name is Martin. I'm founder of La Bella Verde. We founded this company in 2014 in Ibiza as the first charter company in the Mediterranean Sea to use no fuel whatsoever. So we have electric solar boats. This is how we started off. We started off because for me, it is very painful. It was very painful to see that the leisure industry in the nautical world is contaminating the waters and the environment so much, basically just for fun. And this, in my opinion, is absolutely not done. So we live to create a world where we can all enjoy the beauty of aquatic nature, and instead of damaging it, improving the environment by experiencing it. So a positive footprint, not just a no footprint. This brings us to our business models. As I said, we started off with a charter company on open deck catamarans that are fully electric, solar and wind powered, obviously. So no fossil fuels used in the operation. But for us, this was not really enough, because as we all know, the boat building and the whole boat production world and the end of life management of boats is actually the most damaging. So we started going into boat sales, and we partnered up with innovation yards in Les Sables d'Olonne in France. And we started building fully recyclable, non-toxic composite boats. And these we sell. And that brings us to the next model that is our franchise. So as we have been quite successful for the last 7 years with our charter company, we have now a brand that many people want to be part of. And so we sell the boat, and alongside we sell the franchise rights to operate under the La Bella Verde franchise. And more about this a little bit later on. First, a little bit about the boat. Boats, in the previous presentation, it was also mentioned that boats usually break down very fast because the quality is just very poor today in modern times. Unfortunately, it's all about being cheap and high production numbers, and not about long-lasting quality and the environment. So we build our boats with volcanic fibers, harmless epoxy. This means there's no solvents in the epoxy. Means there's means the complete boat can be 100% recycled. We also take responsibility for the recycling of the boat at the end of its life, which is very long into the future because it's built very strong. And balsa wood FSC we use for sandwich construction, and recycled PET foam we also use in the construction. With this boat, we are trying to solve the biggest problems we see in the charter world. First of all, the seasonal dependency of charter companies. You only work 5 months a year, and then you have to store and take care of your boats in winter. High maintenance cost because most boats are poor quality. High operational cost, which mostly come due to the winter storage and the winter off time of the charter boats. And today, everybody wants to be more sustainable, but this is very expensive. So we've been building on the solution. The franchise model we offer is a boat sharing model where two franchisees with complementary seasons use one of our boats. We take care of the shipment in between the two franchisees, and each franchisee basically only uses the boat while they need them to have a profitable charter season. Obviously, the boats are built with extremely durable materials, which lowers the maintenance cost. Globally supported franchise means we provide websites, booking system, global marketing for each franchisee. And we have a partnership with SIS Finance for low-risk financing options for our clients. The boats are designed to be shipped in a 40-foot container and are easily assembled in 3 to 5 days, making it extremely easy to beat seasonality by moving the boat around the world. Our value proposition is that a franchise client can run a profitable business without owning the boat. We support them with a global franchise, meaning booking system, marketing, and basically instant business. And like this, our client doesn't have to worry about the off season. They just make money in summer. We take the boat from them, give it to somebody else, and do it all again. Like I said, the LBP Global will do the logistics around the boat, the marketing, the logistics, and the branding, which we already have been doing for 7 years. And each franchisee is just a profitable charter business in summer. Our current situation is we have 56 leads of different locations in the world of people that want to run a franchise, out of which 6 are really on the verge of buying. So we configured the boat with them and they're about to buy. And we have 1 running franchise in Sydney, Australia. Within the next 2 years, our aim is to raise capital to pre-finance the build of 5 of our catamarans. LBP 35 is the name. And with those 5 boats, we can open 10 profitable charter franchises around the globe.
You've also run out of time, Martin. So do you want to wrap up? Great.
Yeah, I'm finished. Yeah, we're looking for investment of an industry partner to enable further growth, benefit from scale, and eventually to hire more people in the team, pre-finance the build of the 5 new boats, and open the 10 franchises, like I said in the previous slide. And to finish, here are our partners that we work with.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Martin. And so Gabriela, Miguel, Javier. Yes, Miguel, I see you raised your hand first. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for the presentation. What would be the ROI for an investor? Because this is quite capital intensive. And I suppose also setting up the franchises, finding the franchisees, etc., takes a big effort. So what could be the ROI for an investor?
So it depends a little bit. There's 2 models. Obviously, an investor can straight up buy the boat from us, but due to its high quality and its sustainability, it's quite an expensive boat compared to similar boats built with noble materials.
Just like you, I wouldn't own the boat.
Exactly. So if you own the boat, you would be looking at a 5-season ROI, but it depends a lot where your season is. If you're in Seychelles, you have 8-month season. If you're in Ibiza, like I am, we have a 5-month season. Based on the 5-month season, ROI on a boat would be 5 years if you buy it. If you follow our boat sharing model with another franchisee, you halve this ROI by 2.5 seasons, basically. So let's say 3 seasons to be safe.
But I mean, to recover the initial investment and from then that is benefit, or just to make a
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
To make
Exactly.
break even,
Yeah.
you mean?
Okay.
Okay.
I see Javier has also actually raised his hand. Javier?
Yes, thank you. Just following Miguel's question, I'm quite curious about your commercialization model. How do you reach the franchise? Because this is the key of your business.
At the moment, we are advertising in different channels, and we are getting a lot of leads coming to us. People wanting to become a franchise. At the moment, it is mostly advertising online.
Yeah, because I understand that it should be, as you say, worldwide, because you want to have the vessel in summertime Australia and then send him here back
Well,
in
yeah,
when summertime is here.
Yeah, well, we're always looking for the shortest amount of shipping time, obviously. So North Australia and South Australia, for example, already have complementary seasons. And then you could have Mexico and Florida, Ibiza, Gran Canaria. So we try to look in this within the same region of the world to find two complementary seasons.
Do you have any forecast about how many franchise do you need to have a stable business?
I mean, our plan in the next 2 years to open 10 franchisees would already, for us, be a positive base. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. And I think that also answers a question from an investor in the audience about your scaling up model for franchisors and franchisees. But I don't know if Martin, you want to say a little bit more on that just before we close you and move on to the next CEO.
So the scaling up in sense of boat building facilities at our partner Innovation Yachts, at the moment we can build 4 boats per year. But once we get the higher volume of orders, we will also be able to ramp up the production speed because we have the space. It would just require more people to build faster. And I think that already would be quite a high pace if we can build 4 to 6 boats per year, which each of them runs 2 franchises. Then we would be looking at opening up 10 franchises a year, and I think that would already be a very high pace and a very solid business model.
Great. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, everyone who sent in a question. So we're going to move on to Remigo from Slovenia. We've got the Remigo's founder, Marko Vrtovec. I'm sorry if I'm not saying it correct.
No, it's Vrtovec, but you're good enough. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Can you move the slides, Marko?
Yep.
Very good. Okay, please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Marko from Remigo, and we created first truly user-oriented electric outboard motor. Boating was never so easy. The new trend, of course, is electrification, and our research shows that 2/3 of the boaters would replace their small gasoline outboard if a viable solution would exist. The problem is that available electrical outboards are not a viable solution, so the sailors say. They have a lot of problems. Cable connectors corrode. They're made of plastic that breaks. They have many pieces to assemble, etc., etc. On the other hand, outboard design hasn't changed for 100 years. On the left is the first outboard motor. On the right is the current market leader in electric motors. But there's really no need to mimic the gasoline outboards because electricity opens so much more possibilities. So we proudly present Remigo 1, that is unique in many ways. Most important unique value propositions are user-centered design, aluminum antibody that can be detached from the mount, stepless height adjustment, charge anywhere, charge fast, and many, many more. Leisure marine industry is booming, and COVID crisis didn't affect it at all, even gave it a bit of a boost. The trend of electrification is the same on water as it is on the land. It just lags a couple of years, so we're just about to experience this steep exponential growth curve. We want to take 3% of the huge market for a start. Yearly, there's 2 million units sold of all sizes of outboard motors, and we would want 60,000 of this. Target groups are yacht and boat owners up to 7 meters as a main motor, over 7 meters to propel their tender. Then there's charter fleet operators as completely untapped market, and of course fresh and protected water boaters, where competition is quite high. In the Remigo and competition table, we see that most of the competition isn't past the gasoline paradigm. So our unique advantage would be we're fun to use, and we have sleek design, of course. In the competitors table, we see that each of the motors has some bad points, and some even have some good ones. And with Remigo 1, we are just eliminating as many bad points as possible. We're lucky enough that Remigo 1 is a product that evokes emotions, the so-called wow effect. So it basically markets itself. We have not invested nothing in advertising. We only rely on social and earned media, and we got some awards as well. Until now, we have raised around 150,000 euro and also spent them. We're active on designated markets. We have sold and delivered 15 units already and made around 20,000 euro, and we have full pipeline getting bigger every day. Basically, we sell all that we can produce immediately. And we got some awards. Most important is special mention at Dame Design Awards at Magistrate. We receive a lot of praise by the press, but very little proactive work was done because we don't need for now. The team, all members were thoughtfully selected with specific skills in mind. We just want to find best person for the job, so no friends, no relatives here. We launched last November, and now we have two scenarios in front of us. One is with 100 pieces per batch. We have secured funding for this, but we would much more prefer the second one with 1,000 units per batch, which enables much lower price. So the ask is $1.2 million, and there's an option that only half is invested, the other half will be invested by the Republic of Slovenia. We need this money, of course, to scale up the production, purchase parts, and for marketing and promotion. And of course, you can also buy a Remigo and promote it with your friends and family. So thank you for attention. We are committed to marine innovation, and we are miles ahead.
Thank you, Marco, for that presentation. So Javier, Miguel, have any questions from your side, and maybe Miguel, you can start.
Okay, I'm curious, how many clients do you currently have?
If the clients are customers that are the people that bought the units, then it's 15. But as I said, we have
one five persons have bought your motor, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And we have all these distributors for different countries, and each of them wants at least 10 or 20 or 25 units. So today we could sell these 100 pieces if we had them already.
How many distributors you already have?
We have United Kingdom. We have
the number.
6.
6.
Yes.
And how many units are they selling right now?
They're not selling because we cannot deliver. We only, our own price is quite expensive now because a lot of parts are made with machining, with CNC. We need to scale up to start casting parts. Then we will be able to deliver. So most of the distributors only have one unit to the demonstration. But for example, the Turkish distributor, after receiving the first unit, they doubled the order to 20 units.
So the investment will be used to scale the production, to industrialize the manufacturing.
To make tooling. This is the biggest cost. So it's more money needed than just the people to do the prepayment, because actually we need to invest in tooling. That's the main.
Where is this produced? In Slovenia or elsewhere?
It is produced in Slovenia. Crucial components like motor and electronic is also made in Slovenia. Other parts are sourced globally. Batteries are from Taiwan and are premium grade quality that are inside.
And by the way, now that you say that, wouldn't you have any problem with suppliers? Because I'm not familiar with that, but obviously this Christmas, everybody was freaking out because there were not electronic components coming from Asia. So I don't know, you will have the same problem. Yes,
we have been experiencing this problem, but thankfully for now, this electronics component producer was able to give us all these the chips that we need. Also for batteries, is 3 months delivery time. So yeah, we should order as soon as possible if we want to catch, and we must catch the summer season. So May is the deadline, to deliver.
Okay, thanks. Very clear.
Thank you. We actually have I don't know, Javier, if you have a question.
Most of the question was done by Miguel. So just a few ones, because I understand that you need the money for industrialize. So this is clear. And I understand that your commercialization way is dealers. So you have to find dealers to sell your product, right?
Yes.
And the only issue is once the product is industrialized, which is your cost, your selling cost compared to your competitors, because you should have an estimation of your selling cost.
Yes, of course. Our selling price is 1,985 euros plus VAT. It is set according to competition. As we are premium products, our price is 100 to 200 euros over the competitors' comparable model. But the feedback from the market didn't make the price any issue. I mean, if you spend 300,000 euros for a yacht, then you don't care 200 euros more or less.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. And that brings us now to our final company, CZ from Austria. We've got Nicholas Baumgartner, CEO of CZ. Nicholas, are you on the call?
Hi, thanks for having me. I hope you can hear me well and see me.
Yeah, we can hear you well. Very good. You can see the slide.
Then after some great pitches and a great panel discussion, I would like to bring you on a short and satisfying journey with me. So please imagine being not in the office right now, but being on the boat. We are all here because it's our passion, being outside, watching the last sunset, spending the time in a beautiful bay, spending quality time with friends and family, and just soaking in the sun we so desperately need. But in general, sailing and boating is a huge trend, but you have like a lot of crew on your boat, like 8 people, friends, family, kids, all with different needs. And as you as skipper are responsible to fulfill these different needs. But currently, we are still really reliant, especially in the DACH region, on like physical guides like this that show us, give us information about the marina, the destination, and everything around it. In general, a lot of people think that a huge problem in sailing or boating is the weather, but it's actually that sailing is already such a huge trend that the marinas are getting more and more crowded. And this is where we are coming in with CZ, making sea life easy. We provide a digital marina guide, everything about your destination, where you're going. We have points of interest. So for alternative berthing, you can book, as you know it, from booking.com or Airbnb, your perfect berth within 3 simple clicks and directly communicate with the marina, as well as the marina as a software to directly communicate, manage their bookings, market their different products and improve their efficiency as using CZ as a one-stop shop. Our revenue model is similar to the ones from the previously mentioned companies like Airbnb, but we are bringing this successful business model to this new market segment. So we're taking 15% commission from each transaction, each booking that runs over our platform. Our marketing focus is we want to scale to the whole European coastline of marinas, but we started out in Croatia with short-term berthing, and we are already quite successful here. So our market traction is we launched in the beginning of this season or in the 21 season, get 70,000 new users, launched our native apps, have 800 marinas and harbors and further POIs on board, as well as some great partners, as you can see here. The marina has some great benefits in the regards of like, it's already natural for the boat to look for information online, as well as for the marina, more systems come in the market, or they feel the need to at least have like a website and then do it again, social media marketing on Google. So there is also a huge pressure on the marinas to figure out this digitalization. Our product is smart and impact driven. We have some studies that it's also for the coastal communities. It's very important to tap more into the growing charter market and sea tourism, as like every dollar spent on berthing results in like $4 spent in the local economy. As well as we have a great focus on eco-friendliness. We educate our customers. We have already some R&D funded projects and are applying currently for bigger ones, which analyze the boating movement behavior. And we can also alert and again, create awareness to our customers about the locations where the national parks, alternative berthing is anchoring is allowed or not. And this is mainly our focus. Then with the bridge investment we are currently raising, it's an equity investment where we already are setting up the term sheets for more than 60% of the total amount. It's at the 4 million pre-money valuation for 15% equity. And we want to follow on with some big media awareness campaigns we have coming up in Q2. We will follow on with up to 500,000 crowd investment round, which is going to be focused or invested into growing into new markets and hiring key staff. This is the team that will develop this product or is developing this product and bringing it and scaling it to new markets. So on that note, I thank you for your attention. And if you're a sailor and investor, we would really like to have you on board.
Thank you, Nicholas. Very on point as well. And I see Javier, and Miguel. Okay, Javier, you've switched on your camera first. I wonder if that means that you've already got a question first.
I have a question. Yeah, a quick one. Just before Miguel put me on my questions. So
this time, please.
Just a quick one. Competitors. I mean,
yes.
How much competitors do you have? I mean, this is a business model quite common in apps and IT, so I understand that there should be a lot of people running out with this business model. Have you checked out your competitors?
So the business model of these competitors is mostly different. MySea has a similar one, but the ones I would like to highlight is Navili. They're a great community platform from France, but they focus on like a software as a service model more to build their community, and everyone can add POIs, as well as Pick-a-Peer is mostly, as it seems for us, a marine optimization software as a service company. We focus on like just having a product for both sides and facilitating the booking as quickly and efficiently as possible.
So your focus, just a quick one, your focus will be on to get as much marinas as you can, to get the widest platform that you can to show to your customer, because your final customer will be the customer of the marinas, I understand.
Exactly.
Okay, great, thank you.
Miguel?
Yeah, I was curious. You said in your slide about investment that you already got crowdsourced money. Is that correct, or did I miss anything?
We didn't crowdfund money yet because we want to do this with like this big media campaign we have coming up. But we have already fundraised a pre-seed round in the middle 6 digits.
Mm-hmm. What will be the ROI for the investor? So meaning that a regular investor invests in you, what's the return they expect?
The ROI is a difficult one, but as we are not like a hardware-based business, but mostly the valuation of the company is rising very quickly, and we are looking into a break even like with the next 3 years and cash flow positive already in 2 years.
What's the current valuation?
Current valuation is at 4 million.
4 million. So you expect to be in break even in 2 years. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yes, because I had a question as well. And it's great you put that slide up because the question was what was the ask. So your ask is 1.1 million for this year. That's the funding that you're trying to raise, right?
Yeah. So we have an equity investment of 600,000 where we work with investor equity based, and then we have a crowd investment, which of course will have a higher pre-money valuation, where also our customers and partners can participate.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And I think that concludes our pitch session. I just wanted to, before I close, share some positive news. So we've actually got a couple of expressions of interest already for 2 of you. So we will be getting in touch just to introduce you, to the profiles who've expressed this interest. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, CEOs, for being part of our pitch session. And thank you, jury panel and BlueInvest coaches. Everybody who has attended, it would be great if you could complete our short feedback survey to let us know what you think about this event. As Klaus mentioned in the beginning, this is the last thematic workshop for this current series, but there is a plan to organize more of them when the new phase, the next phase of BlueInvest launches. I wanted to conclude as well just with an invitation for everybody to come to BlueInvest Day. It's going to be held on the 28th of March in Brussels and also online. It'll be at the Royal Museums of Fine Arts. And again, this year we are expecting some very big announcements, very interesting things for all of you, and some very interesting speakers who will come on that day. So we hope to see you there. You'll be able to register online. So if you go to the European Commission website of BlueInvest, you will find information about the next BlueInvest Day. So thank you. Have a great afternoon. All the best to you, CEOs and founders, and we will be in touch. Thank you.